Hello, what's up, what's up? Welcome to the Blender beginner course, the first one of this year. I'm very excited to already have so many people watching the stream. I think this is the most people watching ever. We're at 47 views right now. So thanks everyone for coming by. Very excited to show you the basics, the ropes of Blender. I would like to, punch a few more minutes so people can arrive. Because the beginning is very important, so you don't miss anything important. So how's everyone doing? How's everyone doing today? Everyone had a good New Year's? My New Year's was very nice. I think I had 10 friends over and we had a very, very nice personal time here. Yeah, it was very nice. I'm very excited. I mean, honestly, next week I'm gonna start doing this school full-time, right? Doing live streams every day. I'm just super excited to be able to concentrate on that. Sub-only chat is on. Oh, yeah. People on Twitch need to subscribe to chat. Is that a bad thing? I enabled that just a few days ago without really knowing what that means. I guess if you can't chat on Twitch, you could go over to YouTube. I think everyone can chat on there, or even on Discord, you can use the stream chat on there to ask me questions or interact with the live stream. So yeah, maybe I'll change to it next time. Let me give me some feedback on that. All right. I think we are gonna start. Let me pull up Blender here. All right, so desktop scene, here we go. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So Blender is a tool that you can, it's mostly made for 3D animation, right? So it's made for 3D animation and there's been a lot of cool things already done with it, especially this new short film. Oh no, it's not a short film, it's a feature film called Flow. It's in cinemas soon, so Blender's really getting more popular in the mainstream production world too. And but it's a really extremely versatile program. Like, you can do so many things with it. You can build 3D websites. I've done that in the past. In the past, you were also able to create 3D games, like full-on game engine stuff. Blender is really cool. You can model, of course, 3D models. You can do shaders. You can texture paint. You can do simulations. So yeah, it's extremely versatile. So I think it's a very useful tool for every creative to have in their tool belt. All right, so if you don't have Blender installed, just go to blender.org and click on download right here and just download it for whatever operating system you have. There's not really a need to download older versions of Blender because, from my experience, every version they publish, it's really, really solid. There's no really any game-breaking glitches or anything like that. So yeah, you don't need to be afraid to always be up to date, use the latest version. So yeah, install the latest version of Blender and then open it up and you'll have something like this. This is Blender when you start it up. You have a little splash screen here where you have your recent projects, so you can jump right back into whatever project you were working on. You have some basically kind of like startup files, like these new file options here that kind of like give you a user interface like cater towards a specific thing you want to start with. In general, it's not too important what you pick here. Like, I personally always go for general because you can switch to the VFX or the sculpting or the 2D animation pipeline at any point later down anyways. So yeah, let's just go with general for now. So we click on general and it opens up my startup file. Let us load the factory presets actually. That's not important for you, but I'll just do it so you see how Blender looks when you install it and not all my crazy custom setup. So load up factory settings. All right, so this is the standard Blender everyone gets. We're in Blender 4.3, by the way, right now. If you look at this tutorial in the future and things might have changed, we're at Blender 4.3. All right, so let's get accustomed with the UI. So Blender's UI works in kind of like subdivisions, in subdivided panels. So you have the 3D viewport right here, and you have a outliner right here, some properties here, and a timeline down here. But any of these panels can be anything else, and you can also rescale them, right? So you can rescale any of these panels here, make them bigger, make them smaller. And you can also create new panels, right? For example, I want 2 3D viewports here in the center. So you can go into any corner of these panels and then just drag and... Oh, thank you. Thanks for the follow, man. You can just drag and you get this split view. And then when you let go, you have a new window. You basically split that panel into 2 of the same version, right? So I have 2 viewports now, and I can look at 2 things at the same time. And what type of window this is, you can change with this button on the top left. Every panel should have this button, but actually, let me show you how to close panels too. Because I've seen setups where people have like thousands of like little panels and they don't know how to close them again. So how to close them is, instead of dragging into the window, you drag out of it, right? So you can see it's kind of like merging together. So if I do this and I do this, it joins, and I do this, it joins again. So yeah, this is how you close them. Right, okay, let's go through what kind of panels there are. So yeah, as I said, you can change the type of panel you are looking at on the top left. And these are basically all the panels available in Blender. You can even have your Blender preferences right in here. Usually you open your Blender preferences here in Edit and Preferences, right? But yeah, just to show you how flexible Blender is with its user interface, you can also just have it right in the main Blender. All right, so 3D viewport, we looked at that. Another very common editor is the shader editor. And this is to create the look of materials and objects, right? It's node-based, and that's something really important because nodes give you a lot of flexibility. It's a bit more complicated than layers, for example, right? Layers are like Photoshop. You have like your colors, and then you have your outlines, or you have your effects layers. And nodes do the same thing, but in a way more open-ended way. So I'll show you the basics of nodes later. In the first hour of this beginner course, I'm going to show you all the basics, the like really rudimentary basics. And then the second hour, I will go into more detail into whatever you guys want to know. Thanks for the follow. This is also new. I didn't have this kind of like pop-up alert system before. So yeah, this is something new. Oh, thank you, Cyril. Okay, so should I show you some other panels? We also have a compositor, which is really cool. The compositor works in the same way as the shader editor. You have nodes and you connect them however you want to. You even have a video sequencer. So this is pretty crazy. You can full on edit videos in Blender. You can drag and drop your video files and audio files in here and then have a preview here. So yeah, Blender, okay, you can also edit video in Blender, which is pretty insane. We've got, what's this, tracking. Yeah, you can do 2D tracking. So many follows! Oh my god, thank you so much. We've got dope sheets. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go into some of these later down the line. Not right now, because that could be a bit too much. Alright, let's go into the workspaces. So basically, right now, this view that we have right now is very general, right? Like it's useful for navigating a scene and looking around and modeling and stuff. Oh, thanks for the follow, XFL23. I have a German bot, like I have a German voice on this one. I thought it was funny since I'm also German. I like how he pronounces stuff. All right, let's go into the workspaces. So you've got the workspaces up here, which are also, again, like catered towards specific workflows, specific tasks you want to do. In theory, you could do almost anything by just standing or staying in the start layout workspace. But for example, if I want to sculpt on this cube, right, I could just quickly click on sculpting right here, and Blender will change its layout and its viewport and everything to be more fitting for sculpting. And while we're in sculpting, I just want to show you like a little cool tip. If you start drawing now, you see like not much changes, like this vertex moves a little bit, but yeah, you don't really have much change. On the bottom here, by the way, you have all your brushes, so these like change how you sculpt. But you see there's not much happening, right? So what you want to do, just for like a starting sculpt, if you start sculpting, you can enable this DIN topo thing up here. Just click this little checkbox, click OK. And then when you start sculpting, Blender adds more detail wherever it needs more detail for you to be able to sculpt, which is extremely cool. So you can just like keep going and yeah, it will never run out of detail. Yeah. By the way, you're using middle mouse button to rotate about your object, but I'm going a little bit more in depth with the navigation in the viewport later down the line, later down the line, or later. Yeah. Oh, Fan loved Flow too. Nice. Yeah, I still need to watch it, but I've missed it 2 times. Like I was in France when there was the premiere, and I arrived for like 2 hours late, so I just missed it. And then in Berlin, it was also shown on New Year's Eve, but I had to prepare for the party, so yeah, and still need to watch it. All right, we looked at the workspace. I mean, we looked at one workspace, the sculpting workspace, but you can think of all these workspaces basically as, yeah, catered more towards what they say, right? For example, texture paint, you see it opens up like a 2D image viewer on the left here, and you have your cube here, so you can paint on it directly. Let's see if this works directly. If I just like click new on the top left here, it will create a new texture. And we can call it however we want to. We can change the resolution. This is a little cool tip too for Blender. If you have multiple values like this, right? Like I can just like scroll in one and like drag it to whatever I want to, and this one. But you can actually click and drag down to change multiple values at the same time, which is really cool. I think it also should work if I just click down and release. Yeah, and then you can change both at the same time, right? You can type in multiple values at the same time. And you can also put in calculations. So if I want to have twice the resolution, for example, I just type in ×2, and it will give me twice the resolution for both of those fields. Okay, and then I click on new image, and you can see we have image. And we can also start painting on it if we have a color that we can actually see, like white. Yeah. So yeah, you can just start painting. You can select your brushes down here again. Yeah. And you might notice that your texture isn't actually on the cube. Maybe I'll give you like a little start tutorial on shading, right? So we go back to the shading tab. And now it's loading the Eevee engine. Blender comes with 3 render engines, but only 2 of them are really interesting. The viewport render engine is called Eevee, and it lets you, it's basically like a game engine, right? It like calculates all the shaders and all the looks, and then it presents it to you in a real-time way, also with like reflections and stuff. So yeah, we have like some nice shading on this cube, but we don't have the texture, we just paint it. And we do that with this node tree down here. This is basically the shader that's on this cube. And what we want to do is we click on add up here, input. Oh wait, no, actually it's in texture. Texture and image texture. And then whatever, like if you already have images in your Blender file, like the one we just created, it should pop up if you click on this little icon here. And then, yeah, then we have our test image here. And then we can plug the color data into the base color data of this principled BSDF. And then if we look around, we should be able to see our painting. Where is it? Okay, we don't see the white lines right now. Let's go back to texture paint here. It's probably because we need to save this image. So if you texture painted something, it's not automatically saved. You need to save this image first. And that's this little, I think it's called apostrophe, right? This little star icon on top of image. You click on that, and then you click on save. And then you can basically save it wherever you want to, save as image, and then the apostrophe is gone, and you've got your image saved. But for some reason, we still don't see it on the cube. Something is off. Probably because it doesn't have a UV map. Right? Okay. A little tip for UV unwrapping. This is to have basically textures on any 3D object. You need to UV unwrap it. And UV unwrapping is kind of like when you build... is it like origami? Maybe origami is like a good example, because origami starts from a flat piece of paper, right? But it can have any kind of 3D shape. So it's basically reverse origami. You fold a 3D object back into a flat piece of paper, and then you can have that texture on that flat piece of paper. And how you do that is you go into the UV editing workspace here, and with the cube selected, you press U for UV mapping, and then let's do unwrap smart UV project. This one basically just figures out how to, turn this three-dimensional origami back into a piece of paper. Let's click that, and then you can see we have these, these surfaces of the cube on a 2D map here. And if we go back to shading now, we should see it. Yeah, now we see it. Now we see our nice painting. And I'm guessing also if we go back to texture painting, we can paint on it directly. Yeah, we can. Nice. All right. So yeah, this is how you set up your objects so you can paint on them. All right, let's go back a little bit more to the basics. I'm getting a bit carried away here. I just want to show you so much interesting stuff. All right, so yeah, showed you some workspaces. Let's go into the Blender settings, because there's a bunch of stuff that you can play around with, and I think some of them are also important to set up. So yeah, let's go into Edit and Preferences. And here we have our Blender settings now. So the first thing we should set up is in System, and we should select our GPU, because if you want to render a 3D scene, you should use your graphics processor, right? So if you have a NVIDIA or a AMD graphics card, or even the new MacBooks, the M chips, they also have a graphics card built in. You should select the one that you're using, right? For me, I have an NVIDIA one, so I'm using Optics, and then you can select which one of your graphics card you want to use. I personally have two NVIDIAs, but I just want to use one of them, so I select just one. CUDA is for older NVIDIA graphics cards. HIP is, I think, for AMD or Mac. I'm not super sure. But yeah, if you click on those, it should show up your GPU, because for me it says I don't have any compatible ones. Oh yeah, HIP is for AMD, as it says here. Okay, so I got that. And then also something very important is the undo steps. And this is basically how often you can undo, right? How often you can go back and reverse what you did. And I think you should increase this a lot. I personally always just like drag it all the way to the right to as high as it can go, which is 256. And I've never seen a down, like a down point of this to have that many undo steps. It's just useful because sometimes you do a lot of little small things and then you need to undo a lot. So it's useful to have all those steps. Is there anything else important in here? I think the rest can stay how it is. All right, something else is the key map. The key map is basically, your buttons, right? Like how the button shortcuts, and especially this preferences option menu in the beginning here is very important, because here you can select if you want to have left select or right select with mouse button. And the left select is a new change. They changed it, I think, like 2 years ago, because if you think about it, all software that you use, you select stuff with the left click, right? But Blender, when it originally came out until 2 years ago, the standard was right click. So you right click on objects to select them in the 3D viewport. And to me, that makes a lot of sense, because then you have basically two buttons to do different things. If you have left click select, you select objects, and you also interact with gizmos, and you interact with everything. And right click is just the context menu, as you are used to in every other program. But I would really highly recommend using right click, because that way you can always, whatever you have on the screen, you can always rely on your right click selecting an object, right? Because Blender also can have a lot of gizmos and a lot of icons on the screen that you can interact with, and those are reserved for left click then. So I think it makes a lot of sense. You can select objects with right click, and then you can interact with all those viewport gizmos with left click. But you can try it out yourself. You can see what makes more sense for yourself. Something that I also like to enable is tab for pie menu and drag, and extra shading pie menu items. Pie menus in general, you might know from other programs. It's not so commonly used, but I think it's very smart. So let me show you. For example, the tab button on your keyboard changes your object mode, right? So we are in object mode here, and if we tab it, we are in edit mode. You can also change the mode if you click down here, and then you have all the different modes. Any type of object in Blender has different modes you can go into with those objects. And this is just a normal cube mesh, so you can vertex paint, you can weight paint, you can sculpt, you can edit. But yeah, tab just can switch between those two. But since we enabled tab for pie menu and drag, if we hold tab and we move around the mouse, we can see all the menus and we can quickly switch into them. So if you build up some muscle memory, you can remember what direction which menu is, and then you can just quickly swipe around to go into all kinds of edit modes. So I think pie menus are very useful. I think they're very cool, and they speed up your workflow. Let's see what's the next. Okay, yeah, I think we're through with the key map here. Navigation. Yeah, let's go to navigation. Okay, we're gonna make some changes here that I think are really useful. It depends on what kind of work you're doing. If you're a sculptor, if you're working on one single object, the standard Blender setup is working pretty well, which is using the middle mouse button to orbit around the object, right? You can also use shift and middle mouse button to kind of like pan around, and control and middle mouse button to zoom in and out, or just use mouse wheel. That's easier if you have a mouse wheel. So yeah, that's the basic navigation methods, right? How you look around the object. But to me, that feels a little limited, because if we have, for example, multiple objects, I'm just gonna quickly add some new objects with Shift A, mesh, and I'm just gonna put this object here. I'm gonna duplicate with Shift D, put another one here. And now if I want to look at the other objects, it's a little clunky. Like I can like shift middle mouse button over here and then it rotates around it, but not perfectly, right? So like to me this feels a little clunky. Maybe it works for you, but since I work on scenes most of the time, right? Like on like a lot of objects in the scene, and I'm working more on whole environments. What I'm going to show you now is way more useful for that. So what I like to enable is auto depth right here, and zoom to mouse position. And this would change the navigation in the way where if you click middle mouse button on something, it will orbit around where your mouse is, right? So if I click middle mouse button on this middle cube, it orbits around that. If I do middle mouse button on this cube, it will orbit around that. So to me, that's way more useful to like, work on big scenes, right? Because you can see like I get around way quicker. And also zooming in and out is also now towards where the mouse is, right? So I can zoom in and out very easily to wherever I want to be. And you can play around with these options, but to me personally, this is way more flexible and way more, fast. All right, let's see. I think that's it for navigation. Yeah, I think we should move on from navigation to add-ons. Because add-ons are a big part of Blender. Because Blender is a very community-driven tool, right? Like there's a lot of add-ons being created, and everybody helps develop Blender. It's a very community program. So there's tons of add-ons and plugins that you can install and use. Oh, by the way, guys, if I'm not interacting too much with the chat right now, it's just because I want to get through the basics, and then after we get through the basics, we can do more interactive, and I'll answer you any questions you have about Blender. Okay, so add-ons. Blender comes with a bunch of add-ons already pre-installed, and some of them are activated, and some of them are not activated. And something that's, for example, a very useful tool is Bool tool. You can just enable it by clicking this little checkbox here, and you see it added a little icon to the left here. If I disable it again, it's missing. If I enable it, it's there again. So it adds this cool little icon here that we can use to cut out shapes of an object, right? So if I select this cube with right click, I can click this tool here, and then I can just draw a shape. Oh wait, does it work? Ah, here we go. Okay, it might not always work because it's at fast mode. The fast mode, of course, is faster, but it doesn't work perfectly. So let's change to exact mode. And we see it's not doing what I expected to do. Okay. Okay, I'm not fully getting what's happening right now. It's not fully cutting through, it's cutting somewhere else. Okay, maybe let's leave that for now. I don't fully understand this add-on. Okay, yeah, but this is how you enable and disable add-ons, and how you install new add-ons when you download them is with this little drop-down thing here. You click on install from disk, and then you can select the zip file. And I want to show you one specific add-on. It's very, very useful because it helps you to really get started, and it gives you a lot of new tools in one, basically, which is Blender Kit. Blender Kit is really, really useful because it gives you all kinds of assets and materials and environment maps and even brushes to draw and sculpt with for free. At least half of them are free, and for the other one you have to have a subscription plan, but I think it's also pretty affordable. By the way, I have a affiliate link for for Blender Kit. I'm going to post it in here, so if you want to create an account and have 10% off, you can use that. Let me quickly get it for you guys. Blender Kit. Here we go. Copy link and paste it in here. All right. So here you have the Blender Kit Cover School discount link. But yeah, I'll show you what it can do. So yeah, you install the zip, and then it should show you in this list your add-on. Yeah, you have it already installed, so it's here. So I'll just enable it and close the properties. And then Blender Kit adds this cool toolbar on the top here. And that lets you just like type in anything. For example, I'm looking for a cat, and it will show you a selection of cats. What you will notice also is you have this lock here, and these lock icons are basically what you need the paid subscription for. If you want to see only the free objects, you can go into the filter settings here and click on free first. That way it will show you all the free objects first, and then after that the paid ones. Yeah, and then we can just drag and drop these items in the scene. It's that easy. It downloads it and places them here. Super easy, right? It's like magic. This is like really a dream come true for any 3D artist or generalist to just have access to so many materials and objects. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. Should I show you another add-on? I think add-on wise we should be fine. Yeah, you can experiment out with the rest of the add-ons by yourself. Okay, let's also add material to this cube though. I'm gonna look for, let's see, maybe a couch? Do we have like a couch material? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, let's do this nice turquoise here. I'll drop that on the cube. It's downloading it and placing it. But you might notice we don't see the material, and also the cat is all gray, and that is because of our shading viewport. Our viewport is currently in solid view, which you can see on the top right here. So we're in solid view. We also have wireframe view, which shows you just a wireframe of all the objects, right? It shows you basically the lines that connect each point of a 3D object. But then to the right, we have the Eevee viewport, basically. If we enable that, it will load all the shaders and then will display to you in real time. And as I explained to you before, this is like a game engine, right? So it calculates them once, and then you can look at them in real time. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Very, very nice. Okay. Yeah, just to finish this little exhibition here, we also have to the right the render viewport. And if we click on it right now, it's basically Eevee but with lighting, which is not always what you want, because now we're basically using Eevee for the viewport and for rendering. And we can even do what it's doing here, which is like scene light and world, scene world, even in this mode here. We can have this drop down and activate scene light and scene world. And then we have also real-time shadows and environment maps. What we actually want to do with this last one is use Cycles, the path tracing renderer, for very photorealistic rendering. And to have Cycles in the render viewport, we need to go into the render settings here in our property panel and switch the render engine to Cycles. And once we do that, you see the viewport is a bit slower, but it's also way more accurate. Because yeah, it's using real ray tracing. And you might remember before we selected our GPU, right? And this is something you need to do now again in this device setting here. You need to select GPU compute. And then it will use your GPU to draw your viewport, which is much faster than the CPU. Yeah, so cool. Now we have viewport Cycles, which is very heavy, but also gives you basically a look at the final render in your viewport, which is very nice. All right, cool. I'll stay in the Eevee viewport render for now because it doesn't need so much resources and it still looks very nice. Okay, something else I wanted to show you, just like a little cool tool for the 3D viewport, is if you press Ctrl-Alt-Q, you get this quad perspective. And this basically, yeah, splits your viewport into 4 subdivisions. And you have one from the top, one from the, is it from the left, and one from the right. And then your 3D viewport still up here. And this is kind of useful for looking at singular objects from all perspectives. So you can, yeah, work on all perspectives at the same time. It's mostly used for modeling or looking at scene geometry. So let's disable that again. Something else you can do, which is really useful, is full screening. You can basically full screen any panel in Blender. So wherever you hover over with your mouse, you can press Control and space, and then that screen will be full, like just full screen. You can also do that for the outliner, for the properties. Yeah, wherever your viewport, your mouse is hovering over, that will be expanded. And I personally like to use that a lot because my setup looks a little bit more like this. I have 2 more subdivisions here, and I usually have my shader editor here and another viewport here. But I use this one up here for the camera view. And you might have noticed we have these little buttons on the top right on the 3D viewports. And they are basically the middle mouse buttons, right? Like you can grab and pan here, you can zoom in and out with this, and you can rotate with this here. You can also click on these axes and it will snap you into that perspective, just like a flat representation of that perspective. And then if you rotate out again, it becomes 3-dimensional. And you also have this camera button here. So if we click this in here, we go into the camera view. And that's what I like to have, right? Like I like to have my camera view on the top left. And then I can still build my scene on the right here. And I can, let me close this little side panel here. And I can build my shaders on the left here. And when I have this setup, I use Control Space a lot because it quickly allows me to like have the camera view full screen, right? Like to really see what the camera view sees, or fully focus on assembling my scene, and if I scale this up, or building my shader a little bit more in depth. So yeah, I think this kind of like setup and button key combination really helps you to switch around workflows very quickly. Let's see, what else do we have? The camera. Oh, something very cool I want to show you for camera navigation, because right now, if you want to change the camera position, you can do that either by moving it here in this 3D space. You might ask yourself, how do I move objects? Well, the answer is in your tool shelf on the left here. Right now we have the selection box, right? So we can select things with a box, but we can also have the move tool, or the rotate tool, or the scale tool, or the transform tool, which gives you all of those at the same time, which I like to use most of the time. Actually, how I do it is I keep my selection box, so I always am able to select, to draw a selection box with the left mouse button, but I enable the gizmos with this little drop down here. You have another object gizmos option here, and then I just activate move, rotate, and scale. And now you have both at the same time. You have your box select, and you have your gizmos. So you can do both at the same time. You never have to switch in the tools to the left here. I personally think that's more useful. It's less clicking around. Okay, so yeah, now we can move the camera basically around with these gizmos. Maybe I want to like frame up this cat, right? So I could just grab it here, put it there, and then yeah, move it in a little bit, maybe rotate it. But it's not really that useful. Like it's a bit clunky in my opinion. And a better way to do this is actually like a first-person shooter. There's a navigation style in Blender that lets you navigate the viewport like a FPS game. And for that, you go up here in View and Navigation and Walk Navigation. If you click on this, Blender suddenly turns into a first-person shooter where you can use WASD to move around, and you look with your mouse. You can use Shift to go faster. You can use E to go up, Q to go down. So yeah, and this is basically a first-person shooter. And the cool thing is, you can also do this in the camera view. Before we do that here, I want to show you how you add your own shortcuts. So you click on, I'm going to go here to View again, Navigation, Walk Navigation, and I want to apply or add a shortcut for this, because right now it doesn't have any shortcut. You see, if it has a shortcut, it will show it to the right here, which is also super cool. So what I would encourage you to do is to always look at the shortcuts. Instead of just clicking on the thing you want, look at what shortcut it has and use the shortcut. Because when you do that often enough, you will start to remember the shortcuts automatically, and then you don't have to go into these menus anymore. You just press the button and you have your function. So I'm going to do right click on Walk Navigation, and you see here we have Assign Shortcut. So I'm going to click on that and then press Ctrl F, and we added the Ctrl F shortcut. So now anytime I want to have that, I just press Ctrl F and I'm in my first person view camera. Also something that I should mention. In Blender, whenever you do an option, you can kind of like apply your change with left click or cancel your change with right click. An example for that would be with our navigation here. So if I move around and I click left click, it stays, right? But if I move around and I do right click, it cancels and I'm back where I started. So let's use this to frame our camera, right? Pressing Ctrl F while in camera view. And now I can frame the camera as if I'm in a first person shooter, which is way better for framing up, in my opinion. It gives you way more flexibility and speed to like look for the right perspective. So I'm just gonna do this, I guess, and then left click to accept. Yeah, and now we have our camera here. Let me see what else I have on my little notes here, what I should show you. The gizmos. Okay, something also important for the gizmos is, right now you see that these arrows, the X, Y, and Z arrows, they basically point into the global directions, right? They point in the same directions as our global coordinates up here. But that's not always the most useful. For example, if I want to move this camera only in and out, or like towards the cat and away from the cat, I could line up my viewport and kind of like grab it here, and then it's like moving in and out from the perspective of the viewport. But there's a better way. You can change your gizmo directions with this drop down up here. It's at global right now, right? So it shows you the global directions. But if we put it to local, it shows you the axes of the currently selected object. And you can see that the Z-axis from the camera is pointing directly away from where the camera is looking at. So if I move this, no matter where I'm looking at from, at this camera, it will always move in and out directly where it's looking at. So yeah, I personally always like to have this on local, because most of the time I want to move things around in a local space, not in a global space. Cool. Okay, that's useful. I want to show you some keyboard shortcuts for manipulating objects in your viewport, because these gizmos here are pretty useful, right? Like you can rotate, scale. You can also scale, which doesn't do a lot in a camera, but if I scale this, it scales up and down. So yeah, very useful. But there's also very useful button shortcuts that also apply all over Blender. So if I want to move this camera, for example, I personally don't go for grabbing these axes most of the time. I just press G for grab. And then you can press X to move it on the X-axis, Y to move it on the Y-axis, or Z to move it on the Z-axis, right? And I just like to do that. Instead of like clicking on this here, I just like to press GZ, and then move it on the G-axis. That works with any object. It also works with nodes, like you see I have nodes here. And so I can also do that with this. I can select multiple nodes with Shift, and then G moves them, R rotates them, and S scales them. So yeah, these shortcuts are universal all over Blender. The rotation, actually, I've never done before, and this looks so funny. Looks so interesting. All right. Okay, so G is for grab, right? R is for rotate. And you also have here the X, Y, and Z rotation. So maybe I want to rotate it in the Z a little bit like this to make it feel a little bit more interesting. And then, S for scaling. Okay, so G, R, and S. Those are very important shortcuts. What else should we go into? Gizmos, viewport navigation, add objects. Okay, let me show you some of the basic objects you can add. Oh, I should explain to you the cursor. Like this little kind of like red and white ring thing. This is your 3D cursor, and you can place it by left-clicking anywhere. And if you will see it will also snap to surfaces, right? So if I click on this, it will snap on the top of this cube. And whenever I bring a new object into the world, when a new object is born into this world, it will appear where the cursor is. So I have my cursor on top of this cube, and then I can add new objects either by going up here to add, or I personally like to use the shortcut Shift-A. So Shift-A to get this add menu, and then we can add, let's add Torus. All right. Something important with these objects that you can add through the add menu is you also get a little menu down here. If you open this up, it gives you options for your object that you just added. For the torus, it's, for example, these segments. So you can basically increase the resolution of your torus, give it more detail if you want it to look smoother. You can also change the location directly in here. It's not so useful in my opinion. You can change the scale. And every object has different options down there. This menu down here actually shows you the options for anything you do, right? Like for example, if I use measure, right, to measure distances. Oh, we don't get anything done here. But yeah, measuring distances is also possible with this little tool, which is pretty cool. You can also see like angles. Yeah, okay. I don't use it that often, but it's very useful if you're building something for the real world and you need to check the distances between stuff. So let me get rid of this again. How do I delete this again? Guess it's just Control Z. Yeah, there we go. Gary has a question. Wait, how did you move the cursor? Okay, the cursor I just move with left click, but it depends if you have left click or right click enabled in the settings for selecting, right? Like in your preferences, remember? In the input, no, it was in Keymap. You can select if you want to select with left mouse button or right mouse button. And this is another pro for right mouse button, because then you have access to your cursor at any point. You don't need to change tools or anything. If you have left click selected for selection, you need to choose the cursor tool, and then you can move it around. So yeah, that's why I also like right click to select. Okay, let's get rid of this cube here with X, delete. What else? I should show you some other basic objects like lighting, right? So in light, we have 4 different types of lights. We have a point light, which you can see is just like emitting light from one source in all directions. You have more, like right now we don't have any color or strength data for this object, right? For this point light, you need to open this data here in the properties panel. Here you have all the color and the power, right? So you can make it brighter, you can make it colorful, and you can also change its type directly here. So you don't actually need to spawn in the correct type. You can always change the type of light later on. For example, now it's a sun, right? And we can rotate it to like select from what direction the sunlight is coming from. You see also there's like some real-time shadows and stuff. We can make it a spotlight. So this, it's just a spotlight into wherever it points at. It also has some interesting useful gizmos right in the viewport. For example, this little yellow dot here, if you grab that, it will point towards the surface that your cursor is at, right? So very useful to change the direction of a light. And also this blue arrow here changes the angle of the spotlight. But one very underutilized light type, especially for beginners, is area. Area is basically like a film light, right? Like a light plane. So you see this surface here. The light is basically coming from that surface, which makes it feel a little bit more natural, because most of the time in the real world, you don't have like one single point where light is coming from, which most of the time I guess are light bulbs, but most of the time you have areas where lights are coming from, like windows or LED panels and stuff like that. So most of the time I like to use area lights because they feel most natural, and then also give you softer shadows depending on how big they are, right? Like if I point this here, wait, actually let's go back to our cat because it looks a bit dark. Something else that's useful that you can do with the cursor actually is you can move objects to your cursor, right? Because right now I have my light over here, and if I want to move it over there, I would need to have both in the viewport, and I would need to drag it over there. But I can also just, if it's a big scene, right, I can just like go wherever I want the light to be, put my cursor where I want the light to be, and then press Shift S, which gives you this little pie menu here, and it gives you options to either move your cursor or move objects to your cursor. So it's like both ways. You can put your cursor on objects or put objects on your cursor. So I'm gonna do selection to cursor, and then you see we have our light right here. And then we can light our little cat here. And you can see that the shadow is very soft, and that depends on the scale of this light source here, of the area light. Yeah, that really makes it much easier to get the type of light and the type of shadows you want with this type of light. All right, we got the light types. You can also add new cameras directly from the add menu, right? So we have 2 cameras in here now, but we only have 1 active camera. And the active camera is always the one with the triangle black. So this one is the active one, and this one is a non-active one. You can change which one is the active one by pressing Control 0, or was it also in here? No, that's something else. There was, I think it's probably also in view. I want to show you where it is before I show you the shortcut. Oh, actually, because I don't know where this option is. I know it's somewhere, but I don't know where exactly. And this also gives me the opportunity to show you another very cool feature in Blender. Because you can basically search for whatever you want to do with F3. F3 is like a very powerful little button. So I want to put this camera in as the active camera, right? But I don't know where I find that feature and I don't know the shortcut. So I just press F3 and I search for active camera and then we see it. Active camera, set active object as camera. So, and you can also see the shortcut, right? It's Control numpad 0. So I select it and now that camera is my active camera. So yeah, F3 is a very useful tool to find features or buttons that you don't know. Or even, yeah, like features, like if you don't know Blender can do something, just type it into F3 and see if you find that feature. So very, very useful. Alright, so we got 2 cameras now. For animation, I want to show you how to switch cameras in animation, because I also see that a lot in beginner animation that they don't use that feature and it makes everything much more complicated. So let's just get that going immediately. So wait, let me frame this camera a little bit better. Okay. So we have these 2 cameras, and basically in the timeline, when we hit a certain time, right, maybe frame 20, we want to switch from one camera to the other one. So I'm going to select the camera that I want to have active in the beginning, and I go into view here and oh no, was it under marker? Oh yeah, under marker. It's bind camera to markers. And then to create a marker that's called camera 001. And then I select my other camera, I go to frame 20, and I do the same thing. And now you see when we hit that marker, it switches to the other camera. So yeah, you can like basically animate your whole scene and then already do the editing already in Blender by switching between the cameras. So this is very, very useful. Let me see, we got the lights, we got the camera. The properties. Okay, yeah, let me tell you a little bit more about the property panel right here, because you have basically all your settings in this of any object or even of the scene and of the render settings. They're all in this property panel. Let's start on the top, the tool settings. This just shows you additional settings for the currently selected tool. For example, like this box carve, you have all the different settings you can change here. For this add cube, you have all the settings here. But you also have all the settings on the top bar here. So I personally never use this button here because, yeah, all the settings are also up here, which is, yeah, just right there. So it's not so useful. Then the first one after that is the render settings. And here you change all your settings for your final render, right? So you can have your samples, you can have your denoising, you can enable motion blur, which I always have on because motion blur is sick. You can select under film if you want a transparent background, right? If you want to export a PNG with a transparent background, you would need to enable transparent first. And also transparent glass if you want your glass to be transparent. You can change some performance settings. Most of the time I like to enable persistent data because then each frame takes a little bit less to render. Yeah, I think this should just be enabled by default. It helps a lot. What else is useful in here? Light paths maybe. Here you can change this is a big point for realism. If you want realism, you can put these path bounces way high. Like right now, it's at 4 for diffuse and 4 for glossy, and that basically means that, I mean, how path tracing works is that the camera shoots out rays for each pixel, and how many rays per pixel is the sample, basically, right? So right now it would shoot for over 4,000 rays out of one pixel from the camera view, and then those rays would just like see where they bounce off, and if they hit a light source, if they hit another object, and that basically tells Blender what the pixel should look like, right? And these bounces are basically how often that ray bounces from object to object or from light source to light source. So that means the higher these numbers are, the more realistic it is, because in real life, light bounces don't really exist, right? Like light just endlessly bounces around, and so you have infinite detail of light bounce. But in CG, you have to put the limit somewhere. Normally 4 is fine. It gives you a pretty realistic looking image, but if you really want to go for photorealism and you have a lot of time to render images, you could put it up to something like 12, and then it will look very, very photorealistic. If you're on the opposite and you want something to look more stylized and way less photoreal, you can also put it to 1 or even 0, and then you only have one bounce, so it's mostly just one specific color. Down here, the caustics, I personally like to disable the reflective and refractive caustics because they add a lot to the render time and they make the image look more noisy. Maybe I can actually show it to you. Let me just turn this into one viewport again. Alright, then I'm gonna enable cycles, because cycles is using the light paths. Eevee is actually not using any of this light path stuff. Okay, so we got this, and I'm also going to disable the overlay so we can see everything. Here, disable overlays, and I'm gonna add a new sphere here, UV sphere, scale it. With W, you basically get your right-click menu if you have right-click to select enabled. Shade smooth, so we have a smooth sphere, and then material. In the material properties here, I add a new material, and I make this a glass shader. Glass, here we go. And I make the roughness 0. Okay, so the light just goes through it. And something you will notice is that you get these, these highlights behind the glass, which is the caustics and refractions. Oh wait, but it's disabled. Oh, okay, it's just more when you enable them. Okay. So you still get a little bit of refraction even if it's disabled, but the reflective and refractive caustics basically calculate light bouncing off or through glossy and transparent materials. So it's very useful for getting realism, for getting something photoreal, but it's also very intense and it gives you a lot of noise, which you can, I think, pretty obviously see right here, right? Like you have these weird, unnatural looking splodges of color, of brightness. And yeah, Blender is not the best in this feature yet. So I would recommend you to turn them off, except for if you really want to go for full realism and you have a lot of time to render. All right. Okay, so we got that. All right, next we got our output settings here. And here you can change your resolution. You can change your in and out point for your timeline. You can change what kind of format you want to export, right? Like the standard is PNG. And PNG is totally fine to start with. If you're just starting with Blender, PNG is the most versatile format. You can use it anywhere. It works as you expected. So yeah, just start with that. But later on, if you get more into 3D, you should start using OpenEXR. Because OpenEXR is an image format that's smaller than PNG, has basically unlimited data. So you can, after you render it, you can still edit it however you want to, right? PNG will fall apart at some point. Like when you edit it too much, you will see artifacts and you will see color bending and all kinds of weird stuff. Not so with OpenEXR. But that's like a whole topic on itself. We'll get into that later. I mean, not today, like in a more advanced course. Something, if you use OpenEXR though, for the people who are already ready to use it, a little tip is to use float half for the color depth, because usually you never need the full depth. And using half of it will give you much smaller data, much smaller files for still basically unlimited data. And for codec, I would also recommend using the DWAA. It compresses the image, so it's small, but still in a way where you don't really lose any data. It doesn't look compressed or anything. So yeah, if you use OpenEXR, make sure to use float half and WAA codec. But for now, I'm going to switch back to PNG, since everybody in the beginning is using this. And I'm also going to go color depth 8, because yeah, PNG 16-bit data is huge. It's huge files. Yeah, it's very bad. All right. Something else you notice is that the output path is at temp, which doesn't really make any sense. Yeah, because temp is a folder in Windows that never gets used for anything. So it's weird that Blender just exports standard in there. Well, let me show you. So yeah, if you go into your C system, you will find the temp folder. And yeah, Blender by standard exports into this folder, which does make a lot of sense in my opinion. So what I like to do with my startup file, let's save this project here in downloads and tutorial, save it here. I like to have a double backslash in the beginning, and then put a folder called render, and then another backslash. So this basically creates, like, these two backslashes in the beginning basically symbolize the folder that your project file is in. So that means with this path here, it will create a folder called render in the same folder that your project file is, where the Blender file is in, and then it will put your render frames or your render video into that render folder. So yeah, if you use this path, it's very automatic, very smart. I like to do this all the time. All right, let's go to view layers. This is very advanced stuff. This is for working on finished renders afterwards in compositing. I'm not going to get into that right now. We have our scene settings where you have gravity, you have some simulation settings. Oh, you can also change your units here. If you want American freedom units, you can change it right here. Right now we're in the metric system, the only real system. No, but if you want the imperial system, you can change it right here. And then wherever it would show meters or something, it will show you feet and degrees and pounds and Kelvin. But I'm going to stick with metric. Cool. Then next we've got the world settings. And the world settings, let me quickly disable transparency again under film here. All right. So the world settings are basically everything that is around your scene, right? Like kind of like the sky. You can think of it as the sky. Right now we just have a background node and we have the color. So we can change what is everywhere, right? Like the sky color, basically. Which is not that useful because just having one color as a background usually isn't what you want if you want to do something more realistic. Blender actually has a built-in sky texture, like a procedural sky shader. You can click on this little color icon here and choose sky texture. And then immediately you have something that looks a bit more like a realistic sky. Yeah, you can change the sun size here. You can change the elevation, basically the time of day, right? Like you can have a really nice sunrise here. Rotation. Let's Disk, yeah. So yeah, this is a very easy way to get a quick, nice looking sky. It's not very detailed, but at least it gives you a good starting point. Next, we have a collection, which I should get into. Because right now, you see in the outliner, we don't really have much organization, right? Like everything is just right here. This cat model is in one collection, but it's not really, it's not really organized. And you should use collections to organize stuff, because you can also enable and disable collections to, if you work on separate parts of a scene or you want to try out a different idea, you can basically do it in a different collection, and then you just have it all in one collection, and you can then enable or disable it. It's very useful. You can do a lot of stuff with that. So, for example, I'm going to create, or what I usually like to create is click on Scene Collection and right-click New Collection. And I'm going to call this Old or Trash, or both, Old Trash. And I always have this one disabled. And then what I like to do, instead of completely deleting an object, I like to just put it in the trash. So I know if I want to get it back at some point, I could enable the trash collection again, and then I've got my sphere in here, right? So I like the sphere though, so I'm gonna keep it. Daniel, yeah, this is the beginner course. I'm getting a little bit in depth in some topics, but in general, these are the starting information that you need to get started. We're also almost finished with the basics. I'm going to show you the rendering, how I render an image, and then we will get into the topics that you want to hear more about. All right, let's finish going through these panels here, though. Okay, so I've got my sphere selected. I'm going to enable the overlay again. Okay, so next up we have the modifiers. The modifiers are very quick and easy to use modifiers for geometry most of the time. You can also modify UV maps and stuff with them. But what's it mostly used for is to basically, or for example, do an array, right? So I can click on array, and then we have some options here to have an array of the same object. And you can change the settings. So yeah, there's a lot of different modifiers, and they all do different things. So yeah, it's worth to just try out these and see what they do. We also have mirror. Yeah, they're all very different. So just test them out by yourself, or look up what we have. With the particle system here, which is also really cool, but the particle system is also a big topic, so we'll get into that another time. We have physics, which I will show you a little bit right now, because physics are fucking cool. So for example, I want to have this ball as a physics object, and then I want it to roll down this little cube here, right? So I select the ball, and I click on rigid body. And yeah, this should all be fine. Animated, active, animated off, dynamic, yeah. And then on the cube down here, I also add a rigid body. And you can either change it from active to passive, because active are basically objects that move with physics on their own, and passive are objects that interact with active objects, but they don't move. So you could put it on passive, but what I like to do to keep things a bit more streamlined is I just like to click animated, and that means it will not move, but it will still interact with everything. Yeah, and then if you press play, it will just simulate, and the ball is rolling down the cube. Chew. Yeah, pretty cool. And something also really cool is you can interact with it in real time. So you can play, and then, oh shit, something happened. Oh yeah, and then you can play with it in real time and move this cube around, and you can see the sphere interacting with it. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool physics. Next up we have constraints. And constraints basically let you copy data from other objects, or make objects interact with each other in more like mathematical ways. For example, we have this copy location, and then I can, with this drop down, or this eyedropper here, I can click on a different object, for this cat for example, And then this sphere will copy this cat's position. Yeah, so you get a bunch of these kind of functionality with constraints. Then we have the object data. The object data is also interesting to use, but not... yeah, I haven't used it for a long time when I started using Blender, but it is actually pretty useful. For example, I've got this cat, right? And you see the mesh data, it says B surface mesh. So I could just turn this cube into the cat by just selecting the B surface mesh. And then we have the cat right here. Because the object and the mesh data is separate. The object data is this, right? It's just position, rotation, scale. And then what it actually represents is in the mesh data. So yeah, that's what this means. And then of course we have our materials. And then last but not least, we have textures. And these are very individual, like these are getting used for specific tools or displacement. Yeah, it really depends on what you're doing. All right, cool. So let's render an image and get to the more advanced stuff and the questions you have. All right, so I'm just gonna frame this camera up in a nice way. Maybe they're looking at the sunset here. Oh, where's our sun? Me, the world properties. That's strange. Where's our sun gone? We don't see it anymore. Oh, that's unusual. Okay, well, I guess we're doing no sun for now. Okay, so I'm gonna frame this up just like this, just as an example. I know this scene isn't anything spectacular. Yeah, all right. What I want also is depth of field, and you can enable depth of field in the camera settings here by clicking on this, and then you can use the focus distance to like move the focus around, or you can use this eyedropper here and just click on what you want in focus, right? So I can just click the front of this cube here, or I can click the cat. Or if you want the camera to follow an object, right? Because right now, if I move the camera, the focus is not staying on the cat. And if I want it to stay on the cat, I can use this focus on object, and I click on the cat. And now if the camera moves, the cat is always in focus, which is pretty nice. All right. And I think with that, we are ready to render. If you want to render one single frame, you can just click F12 or up here in render image. And then it will open up a pop-up and Blender will start to render. And depending on your GPU setup, it will take long or it will take very short. But something that I can say, because you can see we already have over 700 samples, and the image isn't really getting any better. It's already, right, like nothing is changing. It's already basically finished. So let's go into the render settings one more time. And in the render samples here, maximum samples, let's put this way down. Let's put this, I'm just going to divide it by 10 to 410. And then I press F12 again, and it will start to render, but only to 410 samples. And then it will, finish the frame up. So waiting for a second, and bam, finished frame. But what you need to keep in mind is that Blender doesn't automatically save a single rendered image. What you need to do to save your image is actually go here into image and click save. Now you can choose where it's supposed to save it, under what format. So yeah, I'm just gonna test cat, save as image, and then that image is saved there. It's another thing when you render an animation actually. If you go render and render animation, then it will actually automatically save each frame in your output folder that you set up here. So yeah, you only need to do that when you render a single image. Oh, Sales says the sun is in the cat's eye reflection. You're right, yeah. Oh, is it? Oh no, that's a different, this little dot here is a different light that we have in the scene. think it's this one, right? If I go here and press G to move, yeah, that's that light. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure why the sun isn't showing up. Usually it is. Huh. Let's also try there's also some other sky types here. Ooh, that also looks pretty cool. From Hosek. Okay, yeah, we got some nice built-in skies here. Okay, so those were the basics from opening Blender to rendering a first image. And now I would like to go into whatever you want to know. Yeah, so write in the chat now what I should go into, like if you want to learn more about shader nodes, or if you want to learn about the video editor in Blender, or physics simulation, particle simulation. Yeah, whatever you want to know, you can write it now. And for the people who have a student membership, you can also join the voice chat on Discord and just talk with me in person, right? Just like we can go through this together via voice. Salis has a question. All right. Go ahead then. Interested video editor. Oh, hello. 1 sec. I'm turning on the audio. All right, we got...
I think I'm in the Discord.
Yeah, you're in the Discord. What's up, man? You have a question, Zach?
Very cool. I have my question. Everything's good.
Nice.
I do.
Nice. Tell me what you want to know.
Yeah. So I guess I'm Zali's in the Twitch as well.
That's you. Okay, I see.
When you're dealing with particle simulation and you
Yeah.
target like a complex object, I've been working on like an E project, like a large complex object, and you target it with like a plain, I don't know, particle emitter. The particles all fly to like a central point instead of like, every single face on that complex object. So I was wondering, target maybe like the entire object instead of just like the middle of it.
Okay, so for example, like this complex human mesh, right? Like we add a particle system and then just start spawning. Of course, like if you use a complex mesh, the simulation is also much slower, as you can see right here. It's not real time at all. Frame. Maybe I can actually change that with this. Okay, that's better. If I disable the multi-res, it's much faster. Okay, so your question is about it's not coming from everywhere?
So if you target, or if that human is the target from a different emitter, like I guess like you have a goal-based like Boyd physics going on or something, then all the particles will fly to like the abdomen of that guy instead of like his head and stuff.
Oh, I see, with Boyds. Yeah, I gotta say I actually I haven't done so much thing with Boyds yet. So I wouldn't know exactly, but let me quickly try to check that. So we're doing here, going physics, we're going to Boyds. Boyds is usually used for like birds and stuff, basically like flocks, things that move together.
Oh, okay.
So your relationship, you had like a different object as a target?
Yeah, right? I had like a goal-based.
How with a goal-based? I haven't done that much with Boyds, so I don't exactly know where I would set that up.
It was under like physics or something. Yeah, physics.
Boyds.
Maybe movement. I can't. Or Boyd's logic, Boyd brain or something. Boyd brain.
Goal. Okay, I see. So we got a goal here. And that object would be the goal. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh, now they're all floating towards it, yeah.
And maybe I was having incorrect. Maybe I was approaching the problem. Like, yeah, I was trying to do something with like making like leaves fly towards something, you know, and each particle was a leaf. And I was using voids. Maybe that was incorrect in the first place.
Yeah, voids are in general used for like flocks and like insects and like like particles that need to interact with each other. So what exactly did you want to do?
Really just making like a particle fly from what, like, you know, an emitter to every face of a receiver.
Ah,
A
okay.
receiving object.
I guess that's something that would be a bit easier with animation and simulation nodes. I don't know if the standard particle system has a feature for exactly that. I know the other way around, right, where you can spawn particles from every face, but I wouldn't know a way how to make them move to like every face of a different object.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That answers my question then, because
Yeah,
I couldn't find a way myself. So
yeah,
that's comforting to hear.
yeah. No, I honestly think that's more like of a custom solution that you would need to create with simulation nodes.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Appreciate it.
I'm also planning on doing a simulation node advanced course in like a few months, because I also need to still level up my own simulation nodes game. But yeah, I definitely want to get more on that stuff.
Sure. I look forward to it. I think that's pretty much everything I had to ask, at least for now. So,
all right,
thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for coming by, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay, let's see what other questions we have here in the chat. Interested in video editor. All right, let me just quickly show you the basics of the video editor. I guess I'm just gonna create a new file here. New video editing. Don't save that. All right, and now let me see if I can drop in some footage that I have. I should have some right here. Boom, boom. Effects, assets, stock footage. Stock footage, okay. Let me just drop in this shot here. So just drag and drop it in. And it should load it. Should take a moment. All right, here we go. Yeah, and then it's basically like most other video editors. You have your timeline. You can move this around with G. But you might already notice that it's not as quick as Resolve, for example, right? So that's why I personally wouldn't go for editing something in Blender, just because of the performance. But like editing feature-wise, it's got all the basics. But yeah, like I wouldn't commit on creating a whole short film in Blender, even though you could. Yeah, you can see you got all the basic features here. You can move things around. But I like, which is pretty cool, that you don't have specific video and audio channels, right? You can just like move things around however you like. And I kind of like that. I think that freedom is pretty cool. I'm gonna disable the sound here. Can I do that somehow? Yeah, there we go. You can also scale it down again with S. Does rotate do anything? No, right? Oh, R for rotate, actually, you can change the speed. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. You have some tools over here too, like you can move your footage, you can rotate it, and I think you also have some effects. Modifiers? Oh yeah, you can also kind of like do color grading on your shots. Yeah, so these are kind of like the effects in other programs. You can just add them as modifiers here. White balance, if you need that. Yeah. There's honestly not too much to talk about with the video editing. It's pretty basic. I think it's worth trying it out, but if you really want to edit something properly, I would still recommend Resolve much more than Blender, of course. Okay, what else do we have? Questions here. What samples do you normally use on average? All right, let me just open up my startup file. Don't save that, and then we can look what I have as my startup standard. Okay, my standard samples for rendering is 512, so pretty low, but because there's almost always a way to make your scene more efficient, so you don't need so many samples. That's why I have it pretty low. And also the denoiser has gotten really good, where you don't need to have such a clean image to be able to have a nice image at the end, because even if it's still noisy while rendering, the denoiser will kick in at the end of your render process and will remove all the noise. Usually it works really well. If it's super noisy and the denoiser comes in, it can also look a bit blobby and splodgy, so you gotta experiment with that. But yeah, the denoiser definitely helps to use maybe like a quarter or half of the samples that you would usually need to use. Okay, next question here. You showed a cool from Victoria. You showed a cool video with Will Smith last time. I would like to know which program you used to create this video. Was it made with Blender? Yeah. It's funny that you remember. I did that. I did the 3D animation with Blender, and then I composited it with Resolve Fusion. Wabi Sabi asks your GPU name. so many times he wants to know the GPU name. My GPU is the NVIDIA RTX 3090, and I have 2 of those in my PC. Because it's very useful to have 2. I mean, it's not normal. It's like most people don't have 2 GPUs, but for me it's very useful, because then I can use one GPU to render a scene and I can use the other GPU to still work on a different scene. So I never really have downtime while working. All right. Anyone else still has a question? Maybe while you guys type more questions, I'm going to tell you how my school idea here works in general, right? The Culver School. So what I'm doing is I'm doing beginner courses once every month, right? Like a Blender beginner course and a Resolve Fusion beginner course. And from then on out, I'm starting mentoring, right? So you can get a mentorship on Patreon, and then send in your experiments and whatever you're working on in the Discord channel in student submissions. And then in the daily live streams, I will basically continue with you, teaching you the things that you need to learn and you need to understand to get where you want to go, right? So I'm just doing the beginner courses publicly for everyone to learn at the same time. And then from then on out, it's more mentorship based, more individual. Let me actually quickly give you the link to my Patreon so you can get a membership if you like to. The membership is also, there's a 7-day trial. So when I start next week on Monday, you can get the 7-day trial, and you can try it out the whole week and see if my mentoring helps you get forward. And if you like it, you can continue. If you don't, you can cancel. So no harm made. Okay, let me see. I've got some news chats here. Victoria asks, do you recommend any programs to create characters? I mean, it depends if you want to create, if you want to sculpt your own character from scratch. That you can do in Blender. Blender has pretty good sculpting tools by now, and there's also a lot of good tutorials on how to sculpt characters in Blender. If you want, if like creating your own character is not so important, I could definitely recommend using something like Character Creator from Relusion. It's a very straightforward, almost like The Sims, kind of like character building system, where you can just like grab a part of the body and like change it, and you have a bunch of clothing in there. So yeah, I can recommend Character Creator. I've used it in the past. Or to download quality characters. Yeah, I guess Character Creator is a good starting point. Bobby says, bro, I'm Indian. I'm beginner for Blender. Please guide me to success in Blender. For sure, man. I would love to. Yeah, just join the Discord server and we can support each other to get there. Bobby, but no reason to spam here, okay? You're writing the same message 10 times. All right. Any other questions, anyone? Salis asks, thoughts on the 50 series cards? I'm needing to upgrade this year. Ah, yeah, they've just been announced like 2 days ago, right? I mean, they're a good upgrade as always with NVIDIA, but also they're not as crazy as they make them look, right? They're not like really twice the power of the, I think they said of the 4090. Yeah, I think that's over-promising. But for the price, it's really good. Like the new 5070, for example, they released that one for I think 580 euros. I think that's a pretty good price for that card, and I think that's definitely worth it. Yeah, I think to me that card, the 5070, is a no-brainer. If you want to do 3D animation, it looks like that card is a very good choice. The other ones, the more expensive ones, yeah, it's not such a big gain for the money that you pay for them, in my opinion. Especially also because they consume much more energy. Yeah, I think the 5070 is a pretty good, very good starting point for sure. Even like not even starting point. I mean, I've made like professional 3D animation on way weaker systems on laptops. Also, like you don't need an extremely great graphics card to make good stuff. But yeah, I think the 5070 would be a good choice. Victoria asks, how did you let Smith speak your audio? Smith speak my audio? What do you mean? From the Will Smith video I did? That was him. Like that was an official Will Smith video. Like I did it together with him, with Mike Diva for Will Smith for his social media. Let me see if I can find it again. Will Smith reality Instagram video. Yeah, here you go. Okay, let me show it to you guys one more time.
Y'all, we out here on vacation in the Bahamas. Another beautiful day. Check it out.
My it's little Easter egg. I also put my Instagram handle here in the likes. This is Jazz. I think is like Will Smith, like social media camera guy. I was the VFX 3D artist in this. And Mike Diva was the director of this video. So this is like little Easter eggs in here. I don't actually know who Jazzy Jeff is. I don't know if that's a real person.
Check it out. Boom. I want to talk to y'all for a minute about the power of perception. You see, there's a lot that goes in to being a hot social media content provider. For instance, y'all think I got time to go on vacation? No, I got social to do.
Oh, this environment is actually, I'm very happy about this environment. It's like a beach shot a friend of mine did in the Bahamas, I think. And then I projected it onto like very rough 3D geometry. And I think it looks really good. It really adds a lot.
Man, this is blue screen. In fact, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I haven't looked like this good in years. I've been totally computer generated since like.
And here his yeah, this face here, this photoreal face of him, that's like a really in-depth professional photo scan they did of him in a real studio for that. We used this same scan for a different video of his. Maybe I can show that to you guys after this one too. It's also very fun.
You know what? This ain't even real blue screen. It's 2019, y'all. Nothing's real.
And then it just comes the Men in Black outro. Yeah, that's it. Wait, let me actually see if I can find Will Smith long legs. Did he upload it? I'm not sure. Doesn't seem so. Yeah, I gotta dig a bit deeper to find that video again. It's the... Yeah, I did two... Oh wait, here it is. Oh yeah, here it is. That's the other video we did with him.
Warum entscheiden, wenn du beides haben kannst?
Oh yeah, they show it at the end here. That's the final video. So what's this? Wait. Oh yeah, this is already like his bottom is already the CG version.
Go bigger, go
His
home.
pants. Yeah, I think in all of these shots his pants, like everything down underneath his jacket are full CG.
Go bigger, go home.
Yeah, this one is full CG. Oh, yeah, I think all of these are full CG. Yeah, this one is definitely full CG, the full CG body scan. Oops! Oh shit! I clicked on the channel icon.
Go bigger, go home.
This one is also full CG where he's rolling. Full CG head. Yeah, also a fun video to work on. Alright, let me see. Some other questions here. We still have about 30 minutes, so we got time to answer some more questions. Victoria asks, have you used AI? Yeah, I've been playing around and learning AI tools a lot, but for me personally, I kind of like made the kind of like a boundary where I don't want to use AI, or I'm not going to use AI for commercial projects, because yeah, I mean, no artist is getting reimbursed or compensated for what AI stole from all the artists in the world in the history of humans, right? So as long as there's not an AI model that reimburses or like pays out artists who are part of the data set, I'm not going to use AI for commercial use. I'm just going to use it for personal projects or passion projects with my friends. Vikas asked how I make a short film using Blender. That's a big question, but I can answer that question for you because we are actually planning on doing a open source 3D animated short film at Carver School. It's called Why Do I Chase? And it's on our Discord channel. If you join our Discord, you are able to select if you want to participate in open source projects. And let me, I think I can quickly show you. Yeah. So if you select that you want to join open source projects, you should be able to see this channel here. Why do you chase in open source projects? And I started it already last year, but I didn't get so much time to properly start the production of this short film. But this is basically our way, or my way, to show you guys how to manage a team and build workflows. And then you will also see everything that goes into creating a short film, right? Like writing the script, finding team members, finding talent, filming reference video, animating characters, building assets, cinematography, editing, sound design, color grading. So if you want to learn that stuff, definitely join this channel. And I think I'm gonna start working on this, or like getting this short film started in a few months, because it's a big commitment. And yeah, but I'm really hyped about it. You can already, like in the pins up here, you can open the concept document, and then you can read the script and what the short film is about and who is already part of the team. So yeah, that's it. I hope you join. Let me see what else you guys want to know. Keanu asks, any add-ons you use in Blender? Actually, I used to use a lot of add-ons, but not so much anymore. Let me see what I have enabled. I definitely use Blender Kit a lot to like get the objects and materials and stuff. Let's see, what do I have enabled? Cracker. Cracker's pretty cool. It's like a add-on I bought on Blender Market. It lets you just like quickly slice low geometry objects in cool ways. What else do I have installed? Oh, Node Wrangler. Node Wrangler is definitely a very important add-on, but that one comes with Blender, like it's pre-installed in Blender. And Node Wrangler basically lets you work with nodes much quicker, right? So I can, for example, control right-click and cut these connections, and then with Node Wrangler, I just hold down Alt and right-click, and then I can quickly connect these nodes together without having to like click on here and put it in there. It's like smartly connecting those nodes in a smart way. Anything else here? Yeah, Rococo I use for motion capture. Wiggle. Wiggle 2 is a very cool add-on. It lets you add wiggle bones to armatures. Let me show you. It's so fun. It's so cool. So for example, should I do it with this mesh? No, it doesn't have any armature yet. That would be a bit much work right now to rig it. But let me create a standard armature here, just a simple armature. I'm going to go into edit mode and then extend it upwards. And then press Shift R to repeat that a few times. Alright, go into pose, what's it? Object mode? Pose mode, I think. And then we should have the wiggle option somewhere here. Where is it? Wiggle. It used to be here, I think. Bone transforms. Yeah, it should be here somewhere. Or is it in the edit? That's strange. I thought it was just in there. Huh. Maybe it's also an old add-on. Maybe I need to install the newer version. I think that's probably it. Just doesn't show up. Yeah, but Wiggle 2 is a very good add-on for adding secondary motion and just like wiggle to your characters for whatever purpose. Let's see, what else do we have? Warby. Okay, love you. You come to India. I meet you in front of Rajasthan Puskarok. Love you. You come to India. Oh wait, it's just the same. Warby, you gotta stop spamming. It's enough if you write something once. But thank you. I do want to come to India. I've got plans to go there together with my friend Flo. Maybe next year. Yeah, we were starting to plan that. I also have like a bunch of cool people already like on the Cover School Discord server that are also from India. So if possible, I want to try to like meet up with them. Okay, Victoria says, you didn't create Will Smith in Blender and used your own audio synchronization? Thank you very much. Yeah, it was the real Smith, and the CG version I had was, we did a very in-depth photo scan. Bro, you don't know Jazzy Jeff? I don't know Jazzy Jeff. Who is he? Come on, bro. You didn't watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in Bel-Air? Oh shit, I watched it as a kid, but like I haven't seen it in a long time. Damn. Okay, so it's a cool little inside joke. Vicar says, I want a flood of chocolate using a blender in my house. I don't know if you're in the wrong live stream. We're not doing real life Blender, we're doing digital 3D Blender. Kiana says, was that a Blender grid with Will Smith was in for a second? A Blender grid. Oh yeah, I think I did actually just render out the Blender viewport for a part of the video. Right? Let me look at it again. I think it was just the Blender viewport render when like everything falls down here. This is just pure Blender viewport. Yeah. Yes. All right. Okay, guys. Okay, I think there's not much more questions coming. I still have like 15 minutes if you have any questions. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I already told you basically how my idea of this online school is. I would be really happy if a bunch of you get the student membership trial next week. So yeah, I can give feedback on your projects and on your ideas all of next week. Yeah, I mean, my plan is to do cover school full time starting next week. I saved some money to be able to, yeah, live off my savings for like a few months. But yeah, at some point it would be great if I could earn a little bit with it. So yeah, if you can, I would really appreciate you supporting me in this endeavor and just join the program or just support with support tiers on Patreon or however you feel like. I'm happy about any kind of interaction and support with this project. All right, guys. Yeah, I think I think that's it for now. The next live stream will be on Monday. That's going to be the official start of the school year. And we're going to start with, yeah, if we have some student submissions, we're going to look at those. Otherwise, we might start planning the short film, the Why Do You Chase short film. And also, we're going to start the first weekly challenge of this year, because every week we're going to create a new challenge, and then everyone has 1 week to finish an artwork or an animation, and then we're going to, yeah, find a winner next Monday. So yeah, be excited for the first weekly challenge, and I hope everyone joins on that. It was very fun last year when we did, the first one we did was a coin challenge where I gave you a 3D coin and you did whatever you wanted to with it. And that was a very, very nice challenge. We also did a skate challenge. Yeah, so many good times. All right, everyone. I think at the end, I'm just gonna post some links in here so you can join the cover school if you're new to it. I'm gonna send the Patreon link one more time so you can get the membership or just support with the other tiers if you like. And I'm gonna send you the Discord link so you can join the Discord if you're not already on it. One sec. Because the Discord is honestly the best way to learn and to interact with us. Copy link address. Here we go. That's the Discord link. All right. Thanks, Keanu. All right, guys. That's it for now. I hope you're gonna have a wonderful rest of the week and a very, very nice weekend. And I'll see you on Monday for the beginning of the school year. All right. Bye-bye. Have a great day. And thanks for coming. This was the most watched live stream yet, so I'm very happy and excited about it. I hope everyone learned the basics of Blender. If you have further questions, just come to the Discord server and ask them. I'm going to be there to